For the 20 by 20 high peak frame tent. When you order a high peak frame tent from us, you will get 4 boxes. The boxes are clearly marked. You have 1 of 4, which is going to be your tent top. You have 2 of 4, which is going to be your hardware pieces. And you have 3 of 4 and 4 of 4, which are going to be your tent poles and other hardware accessories. The sidewall kit doesn't come standard with the 20 by 20 West Coast frame tent, but you can purchase it separately. If you do purchase a separate sidewall kit, it will come in a box just like this marked sidewall kit, ready for installation. For your new 20 by 20 high peak frame tent, you'll see this is box number 1 right here. In box number 1 will come the instructions for how to put up your high peak frame tent, and will also come some of the assembly equipment. In box number 1, you have your 2 cross cables. You also will have 4 corner joints. You will have 4 foot pads, and then you will have what makes up your ratchet strap assembly. In box number 1, what you have is you have your tent top, and in your tent top will come a bag to store your 20 by 20 high peak frame tent, and that comes fully ready to go in box number 1. Now when you open box number 3 of your 20 by 20 high peak frame tent, what you're going to find in there is 4 spreader bar inserts, 4 8-foot legs, and 8 stakes that are necessary for the installation of this tent. Okay, when you open box number 4, what you'll find in box number 4, most importantly, is your center mast assembly. This is the assembly that goes in the center of the tent and causes the tent to have that nice high peak frame look. Make sure that you look in all of your poles and find your peak pin, because that is going to be important for the installation. And then lastly, what you have is your 9-foot 3-inch spreader bars, and there should be 8 of them in the box. Now, these are the 4 boxes that come standard with the 20 by 20 high peak frame tent when you purchase it. The first thing that I would do is I would open each box, I would set all like pieces next to each other, and I would make sure that A, I have the right size of every piece, and B, that I have the right amount of every piece. And by setting them up this way on the ground tarp, I can easily see that I have everything I need to begin the installation. And if you choose to purchase the optional sidewall kit, that will come in its own box. When you open the box, you'll see that the sidewall kit actually comes in its own storage bag. And what I like to do is just leave that off to the side, because that's going to be the last thing that we install when we put up the tent. Step 1 on the instructions that come with your high peak frame tent says lay all the parts on the ground as shown. So what we've done is we've laid out the spreader bars, the spreader connectors, the corner joints, and the foot pads, as well as the installation going lengthwise and widthwise. We've put the center mast assembly in the middle, and we've moved our tent top and our sidewalls off the installation tarp for the moment. Step 2 of the instructions is to put all the joints and the poles together, which we're going to do now.
Keep in mind with our high peak cross cable prestige tent, as well as any of our West Coast frame tents, that the pipes are made of aluminum. Aluminum is a softer metal than steel. So we also want to make sure that when we are handling our pipes, loading them or unloading them from a truck, that we are laying them down flat. By dropping the end of the pipe on the ground, okay, or sliding them roughly into a truck, you may damage the end of the pipe, take it out of round, and it will make it impossible for the fittings to go together securely.
The parts have all been laid down and they're put where they need to be. Is you're going to have your crew put all the joints and poles together, just as it says in step 2 of the instruction manual. This is a fairly easy process, as everything has been designed and manufactured to fit. As Mark said previously, just keep in mind, these are aluminum poles. You do want to take care not to drop them or otherwise damage them, because these poles and fittings are all made to fit together.
Next step on the marquee tent is going to be to slide the corner and perimeter pipe together. Make sure the corner and perimeter pipe are seated in as far as they will go, keeping the tent frame square as you're doing it will make sure that you are not getting any binding or burrs on the metal.
What we've done here is we've prepared for the cross cable assembly. What the crew has done is they've unpacked the cross cables, they've laid them out how they're going to go, and let's just walk over here and I'll show you how they've connected them to one end. The cross cables easily connect on this cross cable hook right here on your joint. And then to connect the other end, what we recommend, and Steve will show us right here, is to actually lift the frame, pull the cable, set it on, creating the tension, and set it back down. Now what you should see with your cross cable assembly is a nice taut cross cable creating an X that is off the ground, and when you step on it, as Mark is stepping on it gently, you will feel the tension that is created from a proper cross cable installation. We're going to prepare the center mast for assembly. What Mark is doing right here is he is taking the peak pin and he is installing it into the bottom end of the center mast assembly.
Until it is good and secure, okay? At that point, I'm going to make sure that this barrel bolt is tight, okay, and the center mast is ready for installation. Now we also want to keep in mind that a new tent is going to be very tight. As time goes on throughout the season, and especially in warm weather, as your tent top stretches, you can remove this barrel bolt and you can adjust it accordingly to put a little bit more tension on the tent top.
Step one, we laid out all the parts on the ground in accordance with how the assembly will take place. Step two, we put all the joints and poles together, as you can see. Step three, we installed one of the cross cables. Step four, we lifted the left corner and suspend another cable. At the completion of step four, we have the assembly that you see in front of you. What Mark has shown us is getting the center mast and peak pin ready for steps 5 and 6. Step 5 is the assembly of the roof cover, and you need to pull the corner with hand.
The first time you take your new Prestige tent top out of the package, it's going to have a factory fold. I'm going to right now show you how it opens up, okay, and then we are going to put it into a position that you will use in installing it on the tent and for storage at a later date. Well, let's get over there and square that off. Okay.
The first thing you want to do when you get ready to install your 20 by 20 high peak frame tent top is to spread the top out as we've shown here. And we like to spread it upside down just to make sure all of our connections are there. So what you have here is you have your sidewall rope, your connectors for your perimeter pipe, you have your corner connectors complete with your loop to go around the pole, and then in the middle we just want to make sure that we have an intact center mast assembly, and I can see everything is there. There are no rips, no tears, no issues. So we've inspected it and we're good to go.
Now that I moved the tent top into position, I have looped these loops over the small nubs on the end of each corner. This is going to keep the tent top secure as we pull it over the frame. Next step is going to be grabbing it tight. It works best if you have one person on each corner and one person in the middle to help keep the tent top from dragging across any sharp objects on the frame that could damage the vinyl. Now, you will see that I've got those two corners looped, okay? One corner of your Prestige tent top is going to have a longer web loop. This is going to be the last corner that is installed. Because the top is new and we have a little bit more pressure on it, of a stake comes in very handy when pulling the tighter loops over the corners. This one usually on a new tent is going to take a little bit more effort, okay?
Twist it, twist this. I don't know it's tight,
Sure.
but you got it.
Now, to get ready for step 6, which is pushing the center pole upright, you will need to install 2 of the 8-foot legs on one side of the 20 by 20 high peak frame tent.
When you are installing the legs on the high peak frame tent, it's best done with 3 people. One person is going to lift in the center of the tent, and the 2 adjoining people are going to put the legs in. Once I have my leg well fitted in there, we are going to put our feet onto the bottom of the leg, and we are going to loosely secure our ratchet straps.
Okay, so now at this point we've completed step 5, assembly of the roof cover, and we've pulled the corner using the stakes as a handle. As we walk around, we see that each loop is securely over the corner piece. Our corner assemblies are ready. The tent top is nice and tight and properly installed, and now we're ready to move on to step 6, which is pushing the center pole upright. Now, to get ready for step 6, which is pushing the center pole upright, you will need to install 2 of the 8-foot legs on one side of the 20 by 20 high peak frame tent.
When you are installing the legs on the high peak frame tent, it's best done with 3 people. One person is going to lift in the center of the tent, and the 2 adjoining people are going to put the legs in. Once I have my leg well fitted in there, we are going to put our feet onto the bottom of the leg, and we are going to loosely secure our ratchet straps. Proper foot installation is going to be the hook that attaches the ratchet strap to the front, and then you will have your stake hole in the back. When installing your ratchet strap on your tent, it is number 1 very important to make sure that you have no twists or turns in the webbing. You are going to take and hook your loop over the hook on the foot plate, and then you are going to come in from the back of the ratchet strap. You are going to feed it through, okay, and you're going to want to take a little bit of slack out of the ratchet strap at this point, just to make sure it doesn't move. This is perhaps the most important step in installing your tent to make sure the installation is correct. If you notice, you have a rope that runs through the valance of the tent. It is very important to make sure that when you are hooking up this rope, that when I pull down, I am putting equal pressure on both valance ropes and pulling on these loops at the same time. I am not going to put a lot of tension on this right now, because this is a free floating rope that will go through the perimeter of the tent, and I do not want to over tighten this one so I don't have enough room to tighten on the other 4 legs. The first process in installing your center pole mast into your tent is going to be to locate the tip and top of the tent, and in a twisting motion, make sure that you have seated the pole securely into the top of the tent. Now, as you will see here, we have 2 cables. One cable is a lower cable, one cable is the upper cable. It is very important when you're putting your center pole up to put the cable, the center pole on the upper cable, and I'll explain why in a moment. Steve, if you can help push up on this. Okay, when we are at this point, we are going to push down on this bottom and roll it underneath so that both are secured into the bottom of the cable and the tent tip. If you were to put this tent up and use the bottom cable, the pressure here is too tight to bring it underneath. At that point, you are going to want to install your pin. This pin must be installed prior to erecting the other 2 legs on the tent to keep the center pole from moving.
So at this point, what we've done is we've completed step 6, which is push the center pole upright. The very important parts of this installation was making sure that when you attach your center mast assembly that you first remove the peak pin. You install the center mast assembly over the cross cable that runs on top of the other cross cable, so that when you slide, it's an easy installation to get the bottom one on, and pressure is properly being applied on the cross cables and the center mast so that the tent does not fail. Also, we want to make sure that the ratchet strap assembly is correct, that there are no kinks, and that they are taut but not tight at this point to be tightened later. Because these are 8-foot legs and there's not too many 8-foot tall giants installing these things, as while the legs are leaned, you want to install the ratchet strap hook into the top hole. Again, make sure there are no kinks and get it ready for installation. You will do it to this side and again to that side.
So the next step, before we put the other 2 legs on and raise the tent up to its actual height, is going to be to attach these perimeter straps to your perimeter pipes. They're going to come assembled and tightened. Unclick them, loosen them, and wrap them around the pipe. Hook the male end to the female end, grab the back piece, and tighten it down. You will see that they're all around the perimeter, so continue to go around while you can still reach them and tighten it down.
So the second last step is going to be, obviously, to install the other 2 8-foot legs. And after we have secured all of our perimeter straps, we've tightened them, but we've not tightened them all the way. We've left a little slack in the perimeter straps so that when the tent is up and the top is fully adjusted, we can then tighten it. The other thing that we've done, and we're going to walk around this way, is, as I said, when this thing is up, it's going to be 8 feet tall. So in preparation for that, on this end, we've just taken this ratchet strap assembly and put it into the hook prior to raising this side to full height. Stop. What we're going to do is we're going to get ready to raise it the other side with the 8-foot legs. Ideally, you have 3 people, 1 on each side and 1 on the middle to lift.
1, 2, 3.
One thing that's very important when you're installing the legs of your tent is to make sure that your leg is inside the valance of the tent. If you are to put the tent up and you're not paying attention to that, once the tent is in the air, it's going to be impossible to properly strap it down.
Okay, so as we've said, prior to lifting, you want to make sure the valance is on the outside of the pole. So the best practices for the installation here is to install your final poles from inside the tent coming out. Now that the poles are up, we will do the final 2 assembly for the feet.
Normally this tent, 2 people knowing what they know how to do. What do you
Yeah,
think, Steve?
2
Half
people.
hour?
Yeah. Well, the first time 45 minutes to an hour, and then the second time you're getting it down pretty quick. Yeah, or up pretty quick.
Put in the last one.